And then our other co-organizer, Silas Principe, is online, could not make it with us today. Okay, so I think we'll get started. The first speaker is myself, so I will keep talking. So you get to. Perfect. Okay, yeah, so I mentioned I'm Elizabeth. I'm the training officer for OBIS. And today we're going to be talking about harnessing eMoF data, so the measurement data in OBIS in the extended measurement or FACT. So very brief background. I think most of us in the room probably are familiar with OBIS, but just in case, a very brief background. OBIS, we are a global community of more than 30 regional nodes and over 1,000 institutions across the world. This is our map of all the nodes. And one of the interesting things with OBIS is that there's a lot of added community value with the data. So data sources, original data, are aggregated into the global OBIS database, quality controlled and integrated together. So we have thousands of different data sets integrated to the same data standard and released publicly in order to provide reliable, actionable, and ready-to-use data. And so it's like this kind of data that we're focused on. And I really want to emphasize OBIS data is really more than just species occurrences. So there's over 186 million different types of measurement data in OBIS currently. So this can include DNA-derived data, tracking and biologging, abundance, biomass, habitat ecosystems, lots of different types of data in OBIS. And yeah, just really going beyond just occurrence records. And often our community may not always know about these potential data. And that's what I'm talking about. So of course, the data standard that all data sets in OBIS adhere to is Darwin Core. And Darwin Core, of course, uses a linked or relational data structure. So the biological observations themselves are in a separate table from the measurement data. And then the records are linked via identifiers. And the table of interest is the eMoF, or the extended measurement or FACT table. And this was implemented by OBIS with the OBIS ENV data initiative many years ago. So this table is what holds all of our measurement data. Too far. Oh yes, I even said, aha. Okay, excellent. So yes, the eMoF table has all the different types of measurements, and uniquely, rather than having a single column for each of your data measurements, the data is instead organized in this long format where each measurement or each variable is on a separate row. So what's also important to know is actually, I want to go back a second. And then the data are separated between 3 columns. So measurement type, measurement value, and measurement unit. And measurement type is where we put the name of our variable. So you can see here we went from length as a column name to length in this row with our value and the unit, and then it's linked by identifiers. But measurement type is typically recorded as free text. And so that means you can enter it any way you like. And this can introduce a lot of heterogeneity. So this is just a number of different ways you could potentially write length, which can be challenging. So another example is temperature. Temperature is a very well-known variable, and we might all have really, we understand what temperature is. And yet there are a lot of different ways to measure temperature. Oh my goodness. Ah, no, go back. I only clicked it once. This is wild. Okay. Okay. Yes. So there are actually like 99 different types of temperature measurements in OBIS. And then when we remove like special spelling, lowercase, then that number of unique different ways of writing temperature only decreases down to 90. And then there's 25 different vocabulary keys to describe different types of temperature. So when we say temperature, okay, we could mean water temperature, but then what about where in the water? The sea surface temperature, sea bottom temperature, and then of course there are different ways of measuring temperature that we might want to capture. And so this, I don't really need the extra slides. Yeah. Yeah, why don't we do that? Okay. My slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, I didn't know if I had. Okay, so this leads me to my next point of controlled vocabulary. And controlled vocabulary is really important and helps us take care and address these heterogeneity challenges. So in the eMoF, each of these columns, measurement type, unit, and value, have associated identifier fields. So measurement type ID, unit ID, and value ID. And this allows us to provide an identifier, a URL that will go to a controlled vocabulary server with a specific definition of whatever our measurement is. And this can really help facilitate understanding of your data. That way users don't just see temperature and assume it's sea surface when it's actually at the bottom or whatever the nuances of the data are. This also facilitates and enables data aggregation. So as a data user, I want to collect all of the abundance data. I can make sure I use the right vocabulary and collect all the ones that are have the same identifier. And so really using controlled vocabulary, both as a data provider and a data user, can help decrease misuse potential. Next slide. So while controlled vocabulary is a really great tool and can help a lot, you do still need to like double check. So for the example of abundance, just because it says like abundance of the water body, abundance of a biological entity, that could mean different things. So we have two examples here where abundance is measured in the water body, and another example where it's measured per unit area of the bed. And so this is where it can be really important to double check like the units of the data, make sure we're comparing the same thing. And additionally, just because it uses the same measurement type ID, so this little code, for example, doesn't necessarily mean it is the exact same. So I just mentioned units. So one data set could have the abundance of the water body, but it's individuals per cubic meter for like zooplankton, and another data set might have per square meter. And so this is just caution to make sure we're controlled vocabulary can like do a lot of heavy lifting. But you do, when you're using the data, do need to still double check and confirm that the measurement is indeed what you think it is. Next slide. I almost pressed the button. And so here I have 3 examples of different data sets, all showing fish abundance data. And you can see that they're all formatted very differently. And as someone who has spent my PhD going through hundreds of papers and trying to standardize data, it's a huge headache, right? And so this is why standardization is really, really key for interoperability. and why data aggregators like OBIS and GBIF can be really useful because because yeah, maybe I should, but I want to point. Yes. So standardization is really, really key for being able to have data interoperability. Next slide. So our main takeaway is, as I said, data standardization is very important. Using controlled vocabulary can really increase the reusability of your data, and it increases the interoperability. And while it might be challenging when you're first starting to use and find controlled vocabulary with your data, there is a lot of help. I have spent a lot of time developing some tools for controlled vocabulary. So if that doesn't help you, I would love to hear and feedback on how we can better assist. My last point is the community input is really valuable, and both around like using controlled vocabulary. That way we can make better use of all of these millions of data measurement in OBIS. Okay, next slide. It should be the last one. Yeah. So thank you for listening, and I'll introduce the next speaker. Actually, it is so. Get the microphone. Okay, so Billy is going to be talking about
Okay, I probably won't need it. I'll put more time. So, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ville Karvinen. I work at the Finnish Environment Institute, Syke, and also as the coordinator of eMoF seabed habitats. I will be telling you about what eMoF is and what we've been doing in data integration between different themes in eMoF. And when I say we, I mean the people listed here. I, as a coordinator, I'm just presenting the work. So thank you, everyone. And especially also thanks to Joanna Beja, the coordinator of eMoF Biology, for assisting with some slides and the content. Next one, please. So what is eMoF? The European Marine Observations and Data Network is a EU initiative, a data service that aims to bring together all the marine data produced in the European Union in a standardized fashion and fairly formatted and available through web services. And it's divided into 7 different themes. The most relevant for biodiversity are eMoF biology, focusing on species, and seabed habitats, focusing on habitats. Next, please. In eMoF biology, there are 9 different subthemes, and the species data come from a variety of sources. The data types vary from observations to genomics. And next, please. The eMoF biology uses same standards as OBIS and GBIF, and also controlled vocabularies. Next, please. And the data to biology comes from either outside data providers or the consortium members. And Flanders Marine Institute lists coordinates also the European node of OBIS, so it's directly connected to OBIS as well and GBIF. And as with all the eMoF themes, biology and seabed habitats also provide data and products to the EDITO, the European Digital Twin of the Ocean. Next, please. Both seabed habitats and biology have a lot of data sets and data products. And it's not possible to have everything in the map portal on view. In the map here in the left is a layer of all the bounding boxes of the seabed habitats data layers. Only a few of them are available at the map viewer, but the rest can be found at the catalog and through web services. And eMoF Biology also utilizes an AirDub service. Next, please. Some of the products of eMoF seabed habitats, we have these point habitat data from service. Next, please. Habitat maps from service in polygon format. Next, please. And then modeled maps, for example, habitat forming species. There we have a little bit of overlap with biology, who also can publish these kind of things. Then from this data that we gather and standardize and publish, we also produce different kinds of data products. For example, for the essential ocean variables, for Europe, the distribution of seagrasses, macroalgal, canopy cover, and so on. Please. Essential fish habitats. Next. Coastal wetlands, vulnerable marine systems, which is a fisheries-related data set. Next, please. And then also we facilitate the work of the regional sea conventions by producing different kinds of data layers at their request. For example, this OSPAR threatened and or declining habitats layer that they use in their assessment. Next, please. And then one last but not least product, what seabed habitats does is the EU sea map, which is a modeled broad-scale habitat map for all the European seas. There is a separate version for the Caribbean as well. And this is something that the European Union member states can use as a baseline for the Marine Strategy Framework Directive reporting, for example. Next, please. The data flows to seabed habitats are a bit different from biology. Habitat data might not often be available through national portals. It mostly works so that our consortium members look for habitat data from different sources, publications, national sources, and then it's brought in depending on the type of the data, the polygon data and the modeled maps, as well as the restricted data, point habitat data. Restricted means that we might not be able to make it downloadable, then we just show it as a web map service. Or in some cases, we can only say that there is this resource and you can find it by contacting the data owner. These three types, they are coordinated through our partners and regional data coordinators and then published through the web services by JNCC. And the remaining part is the point habitat data that are not restricted. This is about 2/3 of the point habitat data that we have. And for this, we have set up together with eMoF Biology and all the collaborators, the IPT, which we use to upload it. Next, please. Bringing us to the actual data integration part. So if these point habitat data, they might be, for example, from habitat surveys, ground truthing data, for example. So they might be species observation for seagrass, and then the class, the habitat class in some certain classification scheme describing the seabed, the seagrass habitat. So if there is a species observation included, then we can include it to eMoF Biology in a fashion that it also is possible to have it flow to OBIS and GBIF and so forth. Next, please. So the data are uploaded through the IPT, and the fields are mapped and so on. And using the eMoF that we heard about in Elizabeth's presentation, we are able to then integrate these habitat observations to the species observations. Next, please. We have been doing this now in this past project phase of 2 years with success. There are some challenges. Obviously, if there is no species occurrence, then it cannot go to OBIS and so forth. But these we will publish anyway as habitat points. Then the lack of vocabularies, published ones for the newest version of UNIS and the Black Sea Convention habitat classification. That's a bit of a problem because then the only option would be to save this information as text, and we have decided not to do it because it will probably just cause trouble in the future. So we are instead now trying to discuss with these the authors of these classifications. This is something that we could do technically ourselves, probably say NERC vocabulary, but for example, the UNIS classification is developed by the European Environment Agency, so that we don't want to step on their toes by doing something that is under their authority. So we are trying to discuss and facilitate with them the publication for this. But it has worked so well anyway that all the future point habitat data, unrestricted ones, will be published through this IPT in the future. Next, please. And few other future things that we are looking into is, for example, in Finland, we have this rather large data set from the VELMU mapping program. It's underwater marine biodiversity service from the past 22 years. It's mostly drop video data, but there are thousands of dive transects as well. Altogether, there is about 190,000 sampling events. This is currently going from the Parks and Wildlife Finland, GIS, laji meaning species in Finnish, from this database to FinBIF and to GBIF. And we are working with FinBIF to solve some minor data formatting issues to be able to bring it to eModNet and OBIS as well. But the thing is that meanwhile, my institution, Syke, is working on species distribution modeling, and yearly we get a data dump from laji GIS for this work. And from that, for example, we will now this year do habitat classification in the red list, national red list classification for Finland, as well as the HELCOM underwater biotopes classification. And once we have this, we are not sure yet how do we do the integration, because it would be great to have the habitat information as well going to GBIF and FinBIF, but we don't know yet. Well, at least I don't know if it's possible through eModNet biology. This is something we need to check. But there will be, it will be interesting detective work trying to fit all the event IDs, because it is changing between the databases, that much I know. And one further thing is that in the European Union, we have new legislation on nature restoration. The nature restoration regulation Annex 2 lists 233 UNIS habitat types for marine habitats, for which the member states need to make a restoration plan and also be able to assess the condition of these habitats. So at the moment in seabed habitats, we can include habitat condition data, but it works only for the existing directives, the Water Framework Directive, Habitats Directive, Marine Strategy Framework Directive. But nobody really knows how the member states are going to measure this condition of these habitats. So it will be interesting to see how we can sort of standardize that, if there is difference between marine areas and habitats in them, and try to also integrate this kind of data into this database. Next and the last one, if you have any questions on eModNet, send us an email or come talk to me. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so our next speaker is an online presentation. So that is Martina, and she'll be talking about an ontology-driven approach for biodiversity data. We have the presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martina Bulieri, and I'm a researcher at University of Salento. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you today is what these questions have in common. So I will read it with you. how the changes in land use and climate interact to influence patterns of biodiversity loss across different ecosystems, or how do conservation efforts and species population trends correlate in assessing the effectiveness of biodiversity protection, or how do pollution level and habitat fragmentation collectively contribute to the decline of key indicator species? Well, all these questions have a very complex answer, and this answer requires
If you click it once, it like, so
Ah.
maybe only,
This.
yeah, for emphasize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I am Ilaria Rosati from National Resource Council of Italy, and I am one of the coordinator of the national node of LifeWatch ERIC research infrastructure on biodiversity and ecosystem research. I will present to you the traits thesaurus, that is a semantic artifact developed by LifeWatch Italy in order to harmonize data and metadata related to aquatic organisms. So before to presenting the thesaurus, I would like to give you some information, general information on why we have carried out this kind of work and why it is important. As you can see in the figure, the trait-based approach are widespread in ecological research, but also in other fields. And you can see that the number of publications on trait-based approach has grown exponentially in the last 3 decades. We cannot say the same for data. As you can see, the data associated at this publication are, the number is very low. Only in 2025, we have 51 associated data to publication. Looking at these associated data, we can observe that they are dispersed because they are published in different repository and registry, like, for example, Zenodo, Open Science Framework, Figshare, that are generalist repository, or in thematic repository like GBIF, OBIS, Pangea, and so on, or in specific repository created ad hoc in order to manage trait data of particular or specific group of organisms. So we have also other issues related to trait data. They are highly heterogeneous because we can have different types of trait data. There are, for example, measurement at individual level or aggregated traits value that are the means or average of different measurements obtained for taxon or species. We have also quantitative data that are extracted directly by literature. And finally, we have qualitative data that can be reported for organism, species, or higher taxon level. Another problem is related with the different terminologies that are used in order to describe trait data. We use the different terms to express the same concept. This is a problem if we need after to integrate all these data. So we have also heterogeneity related to different structures and formats, because we can have data set organized as individual species trait matrix, where for each organism or species, we have different trait data reported in column, or we have one row for measurement, or we have, as already Elizabeth presented, we have more table with the core table and extension table that are linked by a unique identifier. Moreover, we can find different formats, text, CSV, XLS, also zip, PDF. So the last challenges is related to semantics. One of the barriers is due for the integration of trait data is due to, because the scientific communities has not agreed with the most of definition related to traits data concept. In fact, in the last years, we have a lot of different semantic artifacts that are developed and in use in different research infrastructure or repository. This kind of semantic artifact can be simple list of terms, glossary, or formalized as thesauri and ontology. So what is the problem? We have a lot of data. These data are also available, open, but the most of these data are not fair. Overall, they are not interoperable and reusable because they have different syntactic and semantic in particular. So we need to provide harmonized fair data in order to foster large-scale integration and analysis. What we do in Life of Italy, we decide, considering all these challenges outlined, to develop something that could be used by different communities that work on trait-based approaches in order to harmonize, standardize their data. We think that if this kind of thesaurus is used in data management practice, probably the integration is possible. So what is a thesaurus? A thesaurus is a controlled structured vocabulary in which concepts are organized so the relationships between them are made explicit. It's also a community effort that need to have different working group with different roles and responsibility in the development workflow. We have editors, we have informatics, but we have also validators. The last group is the most important because it represents the scientific community. So for example, for trait thesaurus, we involve in the validation phase a high number of experts from different countries of the world. So some history. We start in 2015 and we published 4 different thesauri. For the most of these thesauris are focused on morphological trait description. After, in 2023, we decide to transform these 4 thesauris in only one traits thesaurus. And we do it by an alignment process among the different concepts used in the separated thesaurus. What is the result? The result was that in 2024, we published the first version of trait thesaurus with about 500 concepts that include also macrozoobenthos traits. In 2025, we published the version 2.0 with about 1,500 concepts. So, in the thesauro, each concept has a unique identifier, has a preferred label, has synonyms, and also a curated definition. But there are also We can see also that there are sources for definition, and what is important, we have match with other concepts of other semantic artifacts. This is important because fostering the integration of data, also if these data are, for example, described by different semantic artifacts. We mapping the concept not only with the semantic artifacts that are published in EcoPortal, that is the repository of LifeWatch, but also with the external semantic artifacts like NERC vocabularies, trait ontology, and so on. So what we use? We use the trait thesaurus in data and metadata management system of LifeWatch Italy and LifeWatch Eric. In particular, for dataset, we use ecological metadata language. In ecological metadata language, it is possible to annotate semantically different attributes. One of these is keyword. In our system, we can select directly the value of the keyword attribute by semantic artifacts that are published in EcoPortal. We can do the same also in the data table attributes, that is the description of variable of the dataset, where it's possible to describe each variable with concept from control vocabulary. The system automatically report not only the label and the URI, but also the definition of the concept. So, in conclusion, what is my message? That research infrastructure and in general global initiative need to collaborate more in order to define and shape common strategies that can be globalized and mobilize trait-based knowledge. This is very important. So if you are interested in this kind of work and activities, please contact me. We need to have experts on trait-based approach in order to improve this kind of resources and foster the use of these resources in different repository registries, including OBIS, eMoF, and the other. Thank you.
Okay. How are we with the technical? Do we get the audio sorted for the previous talk? Okay, next one. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna have Leticia come talk to us about historical data. You want to
I think, can you pass the slides for me? Yeah, I'll just use it for the point. So, sorry. Is the sound working? Yeah, but can you hear me? If you can see? Okay, thank you. Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Leticia Navarro. I'm a researcher at the Doñana Biological Station in Sevilla in Spain. And I'll be talking to you about our work to mobilize biodiversity data from centuries-old written materials. Next. But I wanted to start by putting this talk into the broader context of global biodiversity change, highlighting the fact that currently the detection and the attribution of biodiversity change and the resulting decision-making for conservation tends to be based on relatively recent data, right? If you look at those figures here, whether you look at trends in pressure on biodiversity, trends in conservation actions, or even ambition of conservation, what you can see, those three figures have in common is that they start, the time frame starts in 1970. And I could have used many more examples. This is typically we tend to have our reference point in the mid-20th century. I don't want to criticize those work by any means. They're working with the best data available. But this led us to ask, what if we could look a little bit further back in time? Next slide, please. So we actually published last month a perspective where we looked at what could be different sources of historical biodiversity information We identify 8 broad types of information, for instance, oral and linguistic sources, written materials such as the one that I'm going to talk about. But you can think also of pictorial representations like paintings and photographs, for instance. Next slide. And we looked at the temporal availability of those data and also what type of biodiversity information could be extracted from those historical sources, whether at the level of species or ecosystems or data on the human-environment interactions. And I don't have time to dive into this today. I just want you to appreciate the wealth of information that can be extracted from those historical material. Next, please. Particularly, consistently, we can access information on species records, on ecosystem records, and on the use that societies had of those species and those ecosystems. Next, another time. Next. Yeah, thank you. But today I'm going to focus on one type of sources, which are structured written records. And so those records were typically created because there was a motivation of taxation, colonization, land development, basically any case where the state wanted to keep track of what was happening on the land. And this means that oftentimes there are standardized sampling protocols behind those documents, which means that today it makes it easier for us to compare the data in space and time. So example of those structured written materials are, for instance, records of hunting, whaling, fishing, forestry. You have also land surveys, cadastres, censuses, and gazettees or geographical dictionaries, which are the documents that I'm going to talk about now. Next. So what are those geographical dictionaries? Well, basically, a very broad definition is that they're documents that contain information on the geographical makeup of a country or a region, their social statistics, and their geographical features. So now I'm going to take you to Spain, and we're going to travel a couple of centuries back in time, starting next with, next please, the 16th century. And we're going to be looking at the document called the Relaciones Topográficas de Felipe II. So I think this could be translated the topographic relations of Philip II, which is this person here, King of Spain for most of the 16th century. And one of his big projects was to document what was in his kingdom. Next, twice, please. Another time. You can do it again twice more. Yeah, thank you. And so basically he wanted to make a description and a history of the singularities and noteworthiness of the land, because until then, this description did not exist, and he thought it would be important for ruling and the greatness of the kingdom in general. So he launched 3 surveys between 1574 and 1581. And basically what happened is people working for the king were given questionnaires, so same questionnaires that were used in all the villages where the people arrived. And so what they were looking for were 2 smart and curious people living in those villages that could describe what was there. So what are you cultivating? What are you hunting? What are you fishing? Do you have enough firewood? What diseases are affecting you, etc. Next, please. And so not all of the documents have been recovered, but the one that have been recovered and transcribed by historians cover 628 localities that are located mostly in central Spain. And my colleagues have been able to extract more than 7,300 records of animals and plants, which represent 224 taxonomic units. Next. One example that I find particularly interesting is if you look at records of the brown bear in Spain in the 16th century, we have 49, I think, records in central Spain, which is quite nice, well, interesting, not nice, maybe if you look at the current records of the bear, which is really limited to the north of the country. Next, please. Now we're traveling 300 centuries further into the future, still in the past, we're in the 19th century, with the Mados Geographical Statistical Historical Dictionary. For short, we'll refer to it as the Mados Dictionary. Next, please. And Pascual Mados was a geographer and a politician, and his motivation was to provide a quantitative, updated description of the Spanish territory in the 19th century. Next, please. So this was a huge huge endeavor. It took 10 years to do this. They worked with 1,400 local collaborators. They produced 16 volumes that were published between 1845 and 1850. And there's more than 75,000 articles. Next. So in total, we can access information on more than 22,000 localities, this time covering all of Spain, so including the Canary and Balearic Islands. This represents in total more than 69,000 records of plants and animals. Sorry. 666 taxonomic units. I didn't make that number up. And the good thing is that for 80% of those, we could identify them to the species level and another 17% to the genus level. Next. So this is just to give you an example of how this information looks like. You have the Spanish version, the original version in the bottom. I just took a random example of village in northern Spain, in Asturias, Herodia. And so this is the type of things that you could find in these geographical dictionaries. What is interesting for us here is the products. So they tell you that they're hunting bears, wild boars, roe deer, mountain goats, wolves, badgers, there's some birds. They also fish eels, trouts, and salmons, for instance. So next. What this means is that we have species occurrences in each locality, right? And because we know that they use the same questionnaires or the same approaches in all those localities, we consider that we have the standardized data collection process. And now that each of those localities consists in a sampling event. So that allows us to standardize and mobilize this data as a Darwin core archive that has two extensions. One of them is the event extension. So each event, each locality is an event. We have its coordinate. We know when the data was, the data was sampled. We have the year of publication of the dictionary. And we have another extension, which is the occurrence extension, where for each locality, we have the list of species. We can use the GBIF backbone to reconstruct the taxonomy of the species. And we can document the basis of record, which is the human observation in the past, right? Next. And actually, this data, part of it has already been mobilized by my colleagues. So this document, the Relaciones Topográficas from the 16th century that I mentioned, is already available on GBIF. So you can already access it. There's a data paper explaining it. And for the Mados data, there's already a data set published on freshwater fauna, and I'm currently working on mobilizing the entire data set. So this is work in progress. Next. Of course, there are challenges and limitations, because if it was easy, it would have been done a long time ago. There's, of course, the problem of reliability. It's quite common with historical sources, because this reliability depends on the context, on the expertise of the author, on whether the information was obtained firsthand or not. So exploitation records can be oftentimes exaggerated or truncated. Think that there's taxation purposes in the back. And of course, archives that are produced during colonial rule, they oftentimes reflect a partial and distorted view of reality. Locations are sometimes tricky to get, and so are the coordinates. And all of the sampling and reporting bias can also lead to some taxonomic biases. First, there's difficulties in identifying taxa and species. We're talking vernacular names of sometimes local dialects. There's a bias towards species that have high or cultural or economic value. And lastly, we have to be very cautious when interpreting the absence of a species in a location as an absence, because it doesn't necessarily mean itself. Next, 3 times. Yeah, this data has nonetheless been used already in research and conservation. So for instance, to set up conservation baseline for the recovery of species. Next. To document introduction of species. Next. And of course, this example is outside of Spain. This is an example where geographical dictionaries were used to document population dynamics of gibbons in China. And last, I think I'm running out of time. This is just to show you very briefly, just looking at Iberia, these are all the potential data set that could be mobilized. The ones that are highlighted are the ones that we already mobilized or are working on, but there's many more documents to work with. So it's work in progress. It's what makes it fascinating. So with that, thank you.
Okay, so our last in-person figure. Oh, thank you. Who's going to be talking about seed traits. Oh.
I don't want that point.
This is just they'll give you the 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I like yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Udayangani Liu from Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew. Today, I will present you how integrating plant and seed traits into institutional collection management systems and global platforms can support ex situ plant conservation. Next slide, please. So what do we mean by traits? So traits are heritable characteristics used to describe form, function, or behavior. Traits can be visible or invisible. For plants, traits determine how plants grow, survive, and reproduce. Next slide, please. There are several types of traits, but very briefly, some traits are visible and measurable morphological features. Some are related to vital physiological functions. Others are reproductive or adaptive strategies. Trait can be presence of a specific compound or timing of key life events. Life history traits include lifespan, life of growth form, fecundity, and more. Next slide, please. So why do traits matter? Because nearly 45% of flowering plant species at risk of extinction. Plant resilience and survival depend on the interaction between their traits and biotic and abiotic factors in their environment. So deeper understanding of trait is vital for planning effective conservation measures. Next slide, please. So how do we know what traits plants have?
Next slide, please. So this slide highlights the diversity of trade data captured in our collection management system. It's highlighted in yellow. Now, I concentrate on the trade more useful for ex situ plant conservation, which is highlighted in red. Next slide, please. So germplasm conserved in the Kew's Millennium Seed Bank provide unique opportunity to capture seed traits. So currently we hold around 103,000 seed collections from 40,000 species across 191 countries and territories. So these trait data are captured either directly or as secondary data during curatorial practices. Most of these seed trait data had already been fed into the seed information database, which I have mentioned previously. Next slide, please. So to assess the initial quality of seeds, we usually take X-ray images of samples of seed. So these images provide insight for various morphological traits. And also, these images can be used in IA-based image processing to assess the viability of seeds. Next slide, please. So to assess the quantity of seeds in each collection, we usually use the weights. So as a result, the seed weights are the widely captured trait. Seed weight data are widely used in seed science research, including in predictive modeling of seed storage behavior, which is the most critical trait for conventional seed banking, which I will explain it shortly. Next slide, please. So seed germination is the ability of the seeds to develop into a new plant. So it is the core trait in seed bank to assess the viability of collections. So routinely we assess the viability of collection through controlled seed germination tests. Next slide, please. As a result, our collection management system now hold over 250,000 seed germination tests. So this germination data is a valuable resource for plant conservation. Next slide, please. So seed dormancy is another trait opposite to seed germination. It prevents seeds from germination. It is a very complex trait and have 8 different types. And currently there is no dedicated online portal for seed dormancy. Still, the primary reference is the work of Baskin and Baskin. And our germination data, of course, a valuable resource to determine the seed dormancies, but it needs deep data mining. Next slide, please. So seed storage behavior is the most critical trait for conventional seed banking. It determines the response of seeds for drying and cooling. The orthodox seeds tolerate drying and cooling and suitable for seed banking, but recalcitrant seed doesn't and not suitable for seed banking. And intermediate seeds fall in between, but have a short lifespan in seed bank. So we can determine this trait by carrying out the seed germination test after drying and cooling. Then again, our seed germination data is a valuable resource to determine this trait. Next slide, please. So the growth form and the life form. The growth form is the general overall structure of the plant above ground, and the life form is according to a Ronacea classification, depending on the position of the perinating buds, which help plant to survive during unfavorable period. We captured both of the information from the field notes of the collector, as well as from the world checklist of vascular plants. Next slide, please. So then there are various other traits, plant breathing system, breathing sequence, and self-compatibility, useful for botanic gardens as well as plant conservation. And currently we are compiling data from external sources to feed into our collection management system. So in conclusion, integrating traits into collection management system like ours, and then connecting them into the global platform, we can unlock the full potential of botanical items and help the plant conservation. Thank you for listening. Next slide, please.
Be able to get the video. Yeah. Are there like subtitles? You could maybe also include with subtitles. But the audio isn't working. But read the subtitles. Thank you, everyone, for your patience with all the technical difficulties. Okay.
Patterns of biodiversity loss across different ecosystems, or how do conservation efforts and species population trends correlate in assessing the effectiveness of biodiversity protection, or how do pollution level and habitat fragmentation collectively contribute to the decline of key indicator species? Well, all these questions have a very complex answer, and this answer requires multiple and heterogeneous data sets from different sources. And of course, to answer these questions, we need to generate hypotheses across discipline, taxon, and scale. And this represents, of course, a challenge for data integration. As we know, in the context of growing availability of data, which are scattered across catalogs and organized with multiple data schemas, data discovery and data integration remain a big challenge in knowledge synthesis. Within LifeWatch, we have developed a semantic approach in order to formally annotate data with semantic artifacts, which are models and vocabularies that specify the meaning of data. And this reveals the relationship between instances and makes them easier to understand both for humans, and they are, of course, become interpretable for machines. These terms are expressed in knowledge representation language such as RDF schema, or OWL or SCOS. So what we do is to basically turn a flat table of information into a knowledge graph. So our goal was, again, to integrate data at both individual level or higher level of organization without losing information, and also to provide an easy-to-use tool for researcher. Our approach was then to develop a lightweight semantic model reusing the existing community-approved models such as the Provontology, FOF, SOSA, and iAdopt. And of course, our approach was also to reuse technology that could easily query the knowledge graph. This is the LifeWatch Italy semantic platform ontology, which is an ontology that we have developed inside LifeWatch. And as you see here in the green part, there is the domain ontology, which takes some classes from the SOSA and we have aligned our classes with the SOSA one. So in particular, we have the feature of interest, the observation, and the observed property. And then we have also other part coming from the proontology, DCAT vocabulary, and iAdopt. So what we are doing actually now, now we are mapping dataset and metadata to the semantic model. So first of all, dataset and metadata are downloaded from the Life with Italy data portal, and then are transformed into RDF triples and mapped to the ontological model through an semi-automatic process with Python scripts. So what we actually do, we give the coordinates of row and lines to the scripts that is going to extract the single observation and is going to put it inside the model, creating a knowledge graph. The results turtle file are then uploaded in the Life of Italy semantic platform. So this is the actually the Life of Italy semantic platform was as a first release a couple of years ago, and to allow users to search and access all the Life of Italy resources with the help of semantic and rich queries. But since then, we have improved the model and the model that I showed you before. And also, we are for this reason we are also redoing the dataset mapping. So what can user do? User can query the knowledge graph for data and metadata by using a simplified and structured search mode. The structured search allows users that do not know how to write a Sparkle query to formulate questions that are more complex with respect to simple text-based search. These are here in green are the main classes that can be queried inside the model. So we have the dataset, of course, then we have the taxonomy, the geographical context, the characteristics, and people and organization. So here you can see a screenshot of the browse section. In this case, we are browsing by the class dataset. And here you can open the filters and select, of course, the countries, the locality, the taxon names, the characteristics that you want to analyze, and then you can download the CSV file. Which is this one, and so this is an example of a query done to the system, and of course you can then reuse this dataset to be further analyzed. So as you can see here, we have the taxon label, the observable property label, the value, the unit of measurement, so on and so forth. To ensure interoperability, we also have integrated external links that are going to be that are pointing to external vocabularies present in other semantic artifact catalog, such as the NERC vocabulary server or the GBIF registry, or many other vocabularies. And of course, they are connected to EcoPortal as well, which is the Life with Sherik semantic artifact catalog. To conclude, the more expert user can also perform Sparkle queries directly inside the platform, and they can save their queries to other users to allow other users to use it. Of course, this platform the platform is still under development and is in the beta versioning right now. So we are testing the last part and uploading the mapped dataset. So we welcome you to review our platform to give us feedbacks in order to improve the user experience. And the model, the ontological model, will be available very soon in the Life-Oceanic Semantic Artifact Catalog EVO portal. Thank you very much for your attention.
Microphone. Okay. We have questions from the audience for any one of our speakers or for all of us. Yes.
This is cute. First of all, a big thanks to all the really interesting presentations. I actually had a specific question to Letitia. I was wondering, you mentioned that locating some of those old records is challenged. I mean, you get this in the text, they're saying that these and these species have been found here and here. So I was curious to hear a little bit more about it, just because I've done similar kind of job in the past and also found it quite difficult to then figure out that if they name a location or a town or a municipality or whatever, where do you actually put the coordinates in that case? And secondly, also, have you come across with the cases where the names of the places, for example, have changed and how you have solved these things? Thanks.
Thank you, Heini. So okay. I'm going to respond on behalf of my co-author, which are the people that actually did that. So the localities can be challenging also because names change, but they have, I think they're called topographic dictionaries, which somehow you can trace, but mostly it's very tedious work because the description will say this localities that is next to this water bodies and some distance from this other place. So on a map, then manually they were able to confirm the name of the place and then retrieve the coordinates. They tried to do it automatically, and I think they got more than 20% of the localities were at more than 5 kilometers of the, so I was actually surprised it didn't work better. So that's why they've done it manually. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, more questions.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks all speakers. I really enjoyed this session. Questions particularly for Ilaria. A lot of, I really like the idea of the traits vocabulary, the thesaurus. A lot of traits data sets are created by individual researchers or small teams of researchers. So I was wondering if you have any thoughts about how we encourage people to actually use the thesaurus and how we can make it easy for people to maybe map the terms that they're using onto the terms, the more standardized terms. Are there, I think the last talk, the remote talk was maybe useful in this respect as well. Are there kind of tools in the pipeline that are going to make this easier to adopt?
Very well, but in any case, for us, we have automatical tool, but we have also the possibility to transform, for example, your CSV or Excel using directly our controller vocabulary. This is a new tool, very easy, created by Jupyter Notebook, because in the last year we was in Tasmania for Research Data Alliance conference, and there is a workshop dedicated to zooplankton trade-based approaches. And we produce with all the community that attend this meeting, not only this tool, but also we extend our controller vocabulary with the term that they use all day. So the idea is to involve much possible the community. And this is why I asked your feedback in order to involve you in this and contribute to improve this kind of resources. I don't know if it's.
We have more questions from the audience. You have a question? Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Over the speakers, yeah. You can ask each other.
Yes. Do you use some kind of gadget in order to standardize a locality name? Do you know? No. Yes, because for example, for marine region, there are gadgets here in order to standardize a locality name. So it could be useful also for your. Okay.
So I'm not the one that did this particular part. I will check, but that doesn't ring a bell.
I was wondering if there are like way to retrieve also traits or like abundances data from this historical data.
I don't need to be the one. It's okay.
Thank you. From the geographical dictionaries, I don't think so. Well, maybe relative abundance. It could be for I don't, livestock or cultivated species. But if you look at the hunting, whaling records, I'm pretty sure you could get some traits from there, maybe body sizes. I haven't looked into actual those type of documents, but I think so. That was your question, right? If the traits, yeah. So I think from the hunting, fishing records there, I would think you could get trait data more easily. And some people have extracted trait data from paintings also and pictures. If you talk about other type of historical material.
At the back. And quick checking in online. If there's any questions online, please feel free to write and we will get to you.
Thank you. So this is mostly a question for you, Elizabeth, and for you, Bill. So maybe because it's guided to the marine part. So we have been talking about this integrating or also additional data, but also we have seen that there is an inconsistency even in one own platform or when we want to combine different information. So in a global point of view, across different jurisdictions from countries and platforms, what would you recommend? Like how we, maybe it's a philosophical question, but how we can move further to think into a really integrating data, like even a question for all the entire people that is here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent question. Yeah, I've been talking.
Yeah, what a good question. Like even in Europe, within the EU, we have these challenges with these vocabularies. I don't have any easy answers for this. Talk to each other and discuss the differences, the problems. I think that's the only way to move forward. No. And we have the sort of similar problems because, well, maybe I did not explain why we have data from the Caribbean, but that's because some EU countries have jurisdiction in there, as well as the UK overseas territories are located in there. So that's why we are also facilitating the work of the EU outermost regions in their work in marine habitats. So we publish stuff from the Caribbean as well. And there even doesn't exist a sort of a unified hierarchical classification system for habitats. So in some areas, it's even harder to start to do the stuff that we have been measly doing at the moment. So a lot of challenges.
Yeah, no, I'll echo that. It can be very challenging because some countries, some areas Like I think the US has a particular set of controlled vocabulary that they're supposed to use, and like same I think in the UK, yeah. And so yeah, I think that's why like the online talk where like kind of mapping and having mappings between controlled vocabularies. I think like the minimum is to use a controlled vocabulary, and then if we can have mappings between controlled vocabularies of like this NERC ID is the same as this one in like ICs or another vocabulary collection could go a long way of having mappings between. I do know there's some work actually working on that in Blue something. I can't remember the name of the project. Yeah. Yeah, Blue Cloud. Yes. Yeah, you're kind of involved in that, right? Kind of, well, sort of, we're colleagues. Anyways. Yeah, so it's definitely a big challenge. And if anyone else in the room has any thoughts about that, please feel free to jump in.
Vocabularies are a big problem in whole lots of areas. I work in the data quality area, and trying to get vocabularies is essential for that. And one of the projects that we began was looking at how to develop vocabularies of interest. And Paula Zaboglio started some processes on that, and Tadwig have some information on standards on how you go, not actually standards at this stage, but how you go about developing vocabularies across the world, and then encouraging people or domains to get together and develop vocabularies. And GBIF has been doing a lot of work on some of the vocabularies. I've had some other areas lately. Tadwig has been talking about expanding that a bit more.
Yes, vocabulary is good, but we need to also formalize control vocabulary, because not only human, but also machine need to understand what the research infrastructure can provide. This is very important.
Yeah. You got one.
Yeah. So this is for Udayangani. There are many plant trait databases, but these are usually external and not linked to global databases like OBIS. Do you have any ideas on how to connect them better?
I have mentioned. So I have mentioned that the tri-plant trait database is the one of the largest currently you can access online, as well as our own seed information database. So I am a data compiler as well as a user as well in different platforms. So my experience, if I shared with, say, tri-plant trait database, so it has different data sets. So data sets owners in different countries. For me, I feel the major issue is nomenclature and taxonomy. So different nomenclature, some are outdated, some are current, some are when I try to bring it together, conflicting. So synonyms, and so we have to communicate with taxonomic platforms. We know for our own platform and WFO, and we have to have somewhere shared platform, not have their own. That is the main issue. So as a user, don't know, do I go to this one or that one? Which one is the better? So as a user, there are lots of questions. So if we want to bring together, that is where the main problem is. So I know there are other problem, trade definitions, how it measures. But before that, the main problems lie in the taxonomy and nomenclature. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so just to wrap up, so thank you again to all of our speakers. We've had some really interesting talks across a variety of sectors, but I think there's a common theme that comes up of controlled vocabulary, dealing with differences in semantics and trying to find a way to standardize that. So that way we can really make sure we have the data quality that we need to build the biodiversity observing system that we want. Yeah, really interesting everything. As a reminder, all the talks are available online after the conference. And if you have extra questions for any of our speakers, please do take them out and enjoy your coffee break. Thank you. Yeah, really great. Yeah.
We work around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.